So, for the ones that don't know us, my name is Carolina.
My name is Julian.
His name is Julian. And we do these webinars every Sunday, and they are around psychology and coaching and how to make the best out of this Corona quarantine times, and also about after now. It's providing tools to navigate now and later. And today we will do a self-coaching session. Coaching session means that we will teach you how to be your own coach. And when we started planning this, it was like, oh my God, there's so much to it. How can we put this in one webinar? And we did that to narrow it down to the most important aspects of it. So this is what we came up with. It's going to be probably 45 to 55, we don't know, minutes of content. And afterwards, we can have a short Q&A session. If you have any questions during the thing, you can also write them here in the chat. So yeah, if you didn't get any pen and paper, now it's the time to do so. And one thing, well, you probably will need to take notes. We will give you some guiding questions, and also we will do some exercises. So it's good if you have something to write on. And one tip that we will give you is, since Facebook is so distracting and you have notifications everywhere and things happening all the time, it's good if you go full screen, and that way you can concentrate in what we're going through and what we're saying, and this process is more fruitful and you get more out of it. So you can still leave at any time, but it's I think it's more you narrow down your focus if you are able to manage to concentrate. So
now we actually want to start with, where are you guys from? So that's because we invite a couple of people, and now it's very interesting for us to see for ourselves, but also for you to know where the people who are in this live stream right now are from, and where they're watching, different cultures, what this might be useful for. So just type down the country you're from, maybe even the city if you like, and so let us know where you're watching this from. Would be very interesting.
Yes, and we will probably have an assortment of countries, because we know people from different parts of the world. So that's something we found super interesting. So if everything is clear, so Q&A session in the end, but if you have questions in the middle, just write them there. Now
they're in the comments.
They're in the comments. Now the assignment is, where are you connecting from? But it takes forever for Facebook to show us the actual responses, you guys.
Philippines.
Jericho.
Nice that you
That's Jericho. Pretty far from us, yes. St. Martin.
Hey, Yuka.
Quite a variety already. So, okay, since we have a ton of content to cover, then let's get started. Manila, Philippines. Hi.
So you, first of all, since we wanted to do or explain our self-coaching process, we at first, of course, want to let you know about, okay, what is coaching? How do we define that, and how can that actually be beneficial for you? So we thought of, or it's a common thing, that coaching is described as a process to help to find or unlock your own potential. So it's really about that you figure out, okay, what are the things that I want to go after, and how to get there. This is in very easy terms said, what this is about. And most of the active coaching is actually just asking questions. So that's a really, really important part. And the questions that you ask trigger then just thinking processes, how you go through the questions they have, the problems they have, see them from different perspectives. And already just that, already seeing it from different perspectives, can give you a major leap towards the goal you're heading, or help you just to cope better with the current situation.
Yeah. Yeah, and what we will do today is basically give you the basic tools so you can get started. But this is like cooking. You first do some pasta with just like some oil and pasta, and then you can get creative with the sauces, and you can add spices to it and stuff like that. So what we're giving you right now is like, okay, boil the water, add some salt, and add the pasta. This is the coaching process that you will learn. And as you practice, as you go with it, then you will learn to go deeper and become better at it. So what is coaching? Did we sort of cover it? Like it's a process that helps you unlock your potential, discover and unlock your potential. And it's also helpful for when you're stuck, when you have problems that you cannot seem to get around. And it's very, very useful for setting goals and when you are going forward to achieving something in life. That sounded so dramatic, but okay, that. So yeah, you want to add something?
Yeah, and basically then if you, like the difference maybe between the coach and the self-coaching part is now an interesting one, because usually the coach from the other perspective, on the other chair, is being like super kind and patient and just allowing any like sort of mistakes, or like not even seeing it as mistakes, or really non-judgmentally. And that's a lot easier when you're on the other side. But that needs to be also part of you when you coach yourself. So you just go over it in a way that you really try to see whatever comes up, any thought, any behavior, anything you do or feel or think, first is just really non-judgmental. So there's no judgment from you towards yourself. So that's a very important part. And you try to be all the time patient, as you would do, I don't know, with your best friend. And you would always try to be encouraging and positive to your best friend when you're listening, for example, to them. And the same way, you should also do that to yourself, especially in this coaching process.
Yeah.
Same goes with like being super open to any new ideas and being understanding.
Yeah. So basically, if you want to be your own coach, you need to embody, like take these characteristics and treat yourself with kindness, with positivity, with patience. Like that's really important, being patient with yourself. You're not going to figure this out in a minute. So it really takes some practice and some getting acquainted with the technique. And after you practice a couple of times, you get better at it. So yeah, just try to keep that in mind when we are going through the process, as you as you will have to interiorize these tools, and try to think of yourself as this positive, open person that is treating a problem like, okay, let's solve this, or it's treating a goal, a skill that you want to acquire, something like that it's outside. You're like an investigator. You want to get to the bottom of it, and you want to get curious, and you want to ask questions and be positive and encouraging, and make this, develop the way that you want it to develop.
Yeah, you really want to stay curious and just find out what is there. And that's kind of what we maybe want to show you in a short little role play now.
Yes, this is going to be interesting.
So we thought of like the best way to really show you how this might look like is really to show you a quick, try to do it as quick as possible, a coaching process with those steps in there, with an actual thing that I'm struggling with. And so you can see really what role the coach has, and maybe what roles you take in on the other side, and make that try to incorporate that into a self-coaching process.
Yeah, so basically, if you don't know what a coaching process is, we will show you right now with a live demonstration with a real problem or a real goal. So we didn't practice before, and this is live, completely live. So we will go over this 3 steps that are there in the chat. Basically, what's your goal? How can you get there? And basically, like where are you at now, and how can you get there? So those are the things that we will cover now. So let's just start. Hi, Julian. So tell me, what brings you around this?
Okay, maybe not that role play-ish.
Okay.
But I just start with the goal that we
just describe the goal that you have.
So I already told other people and you that I wanted to run a marathon.
Mm-hmm.
But for that, I guess I want to practice, but I cannot get myself to actually practice it.
Okay.
So the goal is really to run a marathon.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess that the next step behind is okay, how do I consistently practice?
Okay. So do you have an estimated date where you want to run this marathon?
No.
Okay. Okay. Would you want to set an estimate, or maybe say 3 months from now, 6 months from now, something like that?
Somehow not. I'm not sure why, but it's it doesn't feel like I really want to set a clear deadline to that.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Because maybe I need to then really, I don't know, maybe I need to then consistently practice. It's okay. Interesting.
Okay. So is this goal that you have of running a marathon still in your mind? Once we discuss you want to make it happen,
mm-hmm.
and then you say you don't really want to make it happen. So is this how do you go about that?
No, I do want to make it happen, but I just don't want to really train for it.
Okay. And is there a way to make it achievable without training?
Well, I don't know. I could just run it and try,
Okay.
Well, not really, I think. Okay.
Okay.
At least I want to do some practice beforehand, so yeah, I think I do. I want to.
How much practice are you willing to put into?
I think actually not more than 2 times a week.
2 times a week is really good.
Okay.
It's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And how long would you want to run?
In those practices?
Yeah. Just let it flow?
Yeah, I guess. Once I'm there and running, it's doesn't really matter.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So. And you say that you want to practice. How far in your practice process do you think you're ready to run a marathon?
Time-wise or feeling-wise? When I feel ready or when I
whatever you need to run the marathon.
I think I want to be able to run half a marathon fine. That I'm afterwards fine. Because the last times when I ran a half marathon, it was the next 3-4 hours where I felt a bit shitty.
Okay.
And so once that works fine, and I'm able to run that easily, that would be good enough.
Okay. And do you want to start immediately? Do you want to set give you some buffer time between now and when you start practicing?
No.
No what?
No buffer time.
Okay. Okay, so when is going to be your first practice?
Tomorrow, then obviously.
Okay. Good. And then you will go, you start running and then you will do as you feel like.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually you will feel comfortable with half a marathon.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to set a time frame.
I feel like I should.
No, you shouldn't.
Exactly. Okay. Well, then I don't.
Okay. Good. Then you will start practicing and you will see how it goes. You will play it by ear and eventually you will run a marathon. Right?
I think what seems for me super easy achievable and almost looking forward is really practicing once a week. If I just set, like, I don't know, Sunday evening, a goal, when in the week I will do just one run. That sounds actually quite fun.
Okay. And you can start there.
Yeah.
And see. Good.
So
that's like a short thingy thing of a coaching process. So we started with he has a goal, and then, okay, do we want to put this in a structure? Do we want to create a framework for this to happen? Then he didn't want to. So then it's like, okay, what can we do instead of it? And maybe commit to smaller goals, and then just like work with it. Just like start to go with the flow, and when he feels ready, he will run the marathon. Oh, why do you want to run a marathon?
Why do I want to run a marathon?
Well, that's actually a really important question, but it would take forever.
Yeah, but that I'm kind of just for myself, pretty sure that I have this already like quite a long time on my mind. It's like recurring all the time, and I don't know, running is something really I usually like enjoy once I do that. But for the marathon, I need a bit of practice and sort of like to show what I am, what like my human body is capable of. That's felt really great when I did it with half a marathon. So now I want to challenge it a bit more.
There you go. Wow. Okay. Jericho is going for 8K triathlon. That's okay. That's a lot. Some pretty high aiming people here. Good. So this is like, so you get an idea of how a coaching conversation with yourself can go like, and then we will now dive into the different parts of the coaching process.
You know, basically what just happened, like how she guided me through those barriers, through wherever I got stuck, and just see how she guided me through those different steps where I was just struggling with. And so the first thing we're going to do before we start into that, we try to calm ourselves again, because you hopefully selected a topic that you wanted to cover yourself. We saw already like maybe running a triathlon, and well, other people maybe can now also think about maybe what is a topic I want to talk about or think about or work on. And before we dive into those, and with those questions that we just had, we start with 10 breaths, diaphragmatic breaths, which basically means breathe in your belly.
Mm-hmm.
So once you breathe in, just put your hand on your stomach. I don't know if you can see it, just on your belly button.
Mine definitely. Okay. If I go.
Just your hand on your belly button. And once you breathe in really deeply, your belly expands. So we just do that all together right now. Second. So I guess that was 10. I lost count.
Same.
I hope you got some breaths in and a bit more grounded, a bit more calm. And your mind can think of new things. And that's kind of the idea of that. So you're just a bit more relaxed, and your brain is also relaxed and can think more freely.
Yeah, we do this because when you are going to sit with yourself to do a self-coaching process, and you are in this do mode, or like in a very, well, sort of manic state of going through your day, or super tired or super into a feeling, then you take the exercise, you breathe 10 times deeply, and then you become centered and more calm, and your body understands that you are relaxed and this is a safe place to be in. This is what you want to achieve before getting into, your goals and your current state, how you want to deal with the situation. So before the self-coaching starts, get centered.
Can also be anything else, like drinking tea, taking a bath, whatever. So like all those practices just to calm you down and be focused on the next thing, which is then really the self-coaching part.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Then we are going to cover 3 steps today. And the 3 steps have 3 questions. The 3 questions are in the chat as well. So you can write them down for you to ask yourself later, or you can start asking yourself now. Because the first question is, where do you want to go? And where do you want to go is the place where you set a goal. You set some destination, something you want to work on. And before starting this webinar, we gave the instruction, okay, maybe you want to think about something that you would like to explore deeper, or a problem that you have that you would like to solve, or a goal that you want to, really establish, commit, and go for it. So yeah, the first question is, where do you want to go? If you have something, you can write it down already, and we will start working with that in a little bit.
Maybe also if you have the feeling, I can't set a goal right now because it's so far ahead, or I cannot do this, or I'm not sure what all other factors get in there. Just write down something in the direction you would like to go. Mm-hmm. And it can always change. So it's not that you write down this goal once now and you have to stick to it. You can change it later on in the process, because you will figure out, okay, maybe I actually don't want to do this, but instead something else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's the first question. Then where are you now in respect to this goal? We're not talking about location mm-hmm. or anything like that. We're talking about, okay, you have a place that you want to go, but where are you now? And you can even do like an exercise of completion, like how much there am I in a percentage scale, or in a 1 to 10, like how far have I already traveled in that direction of solving this problem or achieving this goal. And then the last question,
how you can get there. It can really be anything included in there. So, but first you just like figure out, okay, what are the first tools or the first things that need to happen for me in order to get there? So that's simply said, it's just like, what do I need now in my current state, in the where am I now, in order to get to the goal that I set at the beginning.
Okay, good. So let's dive with the topic. If you have it written down, that's perfect. So look at your goal, and the goal could be solving a problem, changing our relationship, doing, I don't know, something really small. It could be like simply doing the dishes. It can be like something small or big. And then examine how you feel about that. How do you feel about that goal? Does it feel good? Does it spark joy? That reminds me of Marie Kondo. Does it spark joy? Does that put pressure on you? Does that like what do you feel when you look at that goal? And if you don't feel like it's something positive, that it's driving you forward, then let's reframe it. Let's look around and see, okay, what can be changed about this goal to make it more attractive, more appealing, easier to pursue. And this is what we call in psychology as intrinsic motivation, when you actually find something within you that is driven towards that thing by itself. Like you really want to achieve that because you are you have a spark in you, you have a fire that is, okay, I want to make that happen. And if you don't feel that for your goal at all, not even a slightly bit, then the goal needs to be rephrased or changed, made smaller, made prettier, and in any way you can think of. Do you want to add something?
Yeah, so maybe like an example would be recently we, for example, sat together and were ideating about, okay, where is Unbox Yourself heading? What do we want to do with that? And so like wrote down our intentions for like, okay, what do we actually would like to create with this? And then at the end, after like an hour or something, I think it was an hour,
Yeah,
it's pretty long.
literally.
At the end, we were like, oh my God, let's do this now. We want to have this, what we just wrote down now.
Yeah.
So this is kind of how it should feel like. And we're like, I want to have it now. Now.
Yeah. And it might take a bit. Like we had practice, and it took us an hour to do it. And when we started, it was like, okay, let's make a team or something like that. And it was like, yeah, but that doesn't really resonate. Like that doesn't like go to the core of who we are. So how can we make that more exciting and more personable? So then we started reshaping everything, and it took us a while, but then we got there. And when we finished, as Julian said, we were super excited about it. We were like, oh my God, yes, let's make this happen. So this is how you want to write down your goals. Like make them something that you look forward to happening. And
you see,
what?
My goals sometimes scare me, as these goals come with great responsibilities.
Oh no, yeah. The thing is that if they are scary, you won't want to achieve them. You will sabotage yourself. You will procrastinate. You will try to look the other way. And this is something that you can sort of fix by simply making your goals appealing, not high responsibility. And we will talk about it a little bit later. Like we will talk about how to make plans that feel good to you, but the goal needs to feel good. The goal really needs to feel good. Otherwise, you won't be motivated to pursue it. So two things that are very important here. It has to feel good, and it has to be centered in you. So the goal cannot be, for example, that the world heals from corona, or it cannot be like there's world peace. It has to be something that you can do, that you have influence on. And it can be anything that you can put your hands on, or like you can use your brain to solve, or you can use your communication skills to interact. Like if it's, for example, a relationship, you can work on your side of the relationship, not necessarily the whole relationship. It will probably be affected by your side, but that's where you want to start, or where you want to put your focus on.
Yes. So it's really important that you, like as we described before, like this really urge almost to do that. Because if that's really not the case, you try not really intentionally anything, but you're just not taking the opportunities that are given to you to actually make it happen. And that's a bad thing, or like a bummer almost, because the opportunities are, you are just trying to evade them, because as you said, maybe you're scared of the responsibilities that you imagine. So it's really there, the self-inquiry, what is actually behind there. Is the responsibility really there that I imagine right now? Maybe how can I give the responsibility to others? Like there are a lot of questions that come up once you just non-judgmentally ask about those states that you're in. And that is maybe a way on how you can dive deeper into, okay, are these responsibilities real? Is there another way? Do I actually want to do this with those responsibilities?
Yeah.
There are a lot of questions that you can ask based on that.
Yeah. And like one easy thing that you can do is, if the goal is too scary, make it smaller. Just like cut it in half, or cut it into 1/3, and make that your goal. If it's too big, like if it's like, I want to climb the Everest. First, let's start with the little mountain around the corner. Not here in the Netherlands.
Yeah.
Not here, because there are no mountains at all, but elsewhere. But yeah, it's just like, okay, level it down if it feels too scary or too uncomfortable.
So now we already jumped into that. Where are you now? So there it's really important, the attitude. Like if it already scares you, then you might want to readjust. But for the attitude, if you, in the beginning, you just want to assess it and really ask those questions yourself. How do I feel about this goal? How do I feel about the situation I'm in right now? How do I feel about when I get those responsibilities? And that is really important to assess all those possibilities, all those factors that play a role in there, and whether you would like them in your life or not. And if there are parts in there that you want to restrain from, that want to go away from, then it's again super hard to actually go towards that goal.
Yeah. And we wanted to give a quick exercise so you guys can immediately start learning how to ask questions. So when you think of your goal, think of a question that you can ask yourself or you can ask others about, like, okay, where are you now and how do you feel about that? So you can come up with a question and share it in the chat, so then we can bring it up and discuss it and say, okay, this is how you get to know this or that. So yeah, to practice a little bit, because the process of asking questions is something that you need to be first acquainted with, and then you practice it to get better at it. So let's get started and just pop some questions in the chat. So yeah, we can start that conversation. But while you think of your questions, we will continue talking.
Yeah, so maybe like the question. What do you have an example of how a question like that could look like?
For sure.
To make it easier.
So attitude. When we were talking about your goal of running a marathon, it's like, okay, how do you feel about running weekly? When do you want to start? Like, how do you feel now if you think of finishing this in 6 months, or like having an end date in 6 months? Like, how do you feel today regarding this goal?
Yeah, and there you saw, like, I was restraining from, I don't want to set a deadline right now to like in 2 months or in a week, but just rather, okay, for now I feel good about running once a week, and actually was excited. So like, okay, I can use that, because that's actually me actively wanting to pursue it. Yeah. And so really trying to cut it down into what's appealing to you.
Yeah. And the question, like, where are you now, in that case would be like sort of maybe excited about starting with this goal, or just to get the training process going. So that would be sort of the response to the question. And
what's next? You always have an option. So as we said, like, you can adjust it, you can cut it, you can mold it in a way most of the time that suits you really better or best. So I, for example, was a bit loose right now. I set this goal for myself, so I didn't have other stakeholders in there that needed something from me. So that was a bit easier. But there's most of the time also the thing that, if you have a deadline, maybe you can ask to the person who set the deadline, hey, can we adjust it because it doesn't fit like that or this? Or can we arrange something else? I put this until the deadline, and are you fine with that? So there, most of the time, options that you can take in and can you maybe use. But first off, again, you have to think about it. Okay, what are all the options? And again, non-judgmentally. Yeah. So, because quite often when we think about, is that possible? Then, for example, can I ask my supervisor for a deadline extension? Then either you might think, no, he probably wouldn't like that, or he gets like a bad view on me, that I'm lazy, or anything like that just pops up. But the option is still there. So what I mean by non-judgmentally writing it down, really just writing down all the options that there are, and then later on maybe checking them out.
Yeah. And this is about asking questions, but also you always have options about how you feel about things, because we sometimes cannot affect the outcome or the outside, but what we always can affect is how we feel inside about something. So if you like think of the goal of running a marathon and you feel scared, then it's like, okay, I can feel scared, or I can take another approach and maybe feel excited. Like, what would be the most adaptive way, the most helpful way to approach the situation? And you always have multiple options of how you can perceive it, or how can you take it. You can always be more positive. You can always be more critical. You can always be pessimistic. So this is like something that where you can choose where you want to stand. And it's usually easier, more motivating to sit on a positive note. And just like convince yourself that, okay, this is good. I'm really excited about this. And it doesn't feel like a lot of work. It doesn't feel like it's scary, that it's huge
maybe
responsibility.
Also really asking the question, how can I make it fun? Like, because that's a thing I really use for my master thesis, for example. Because I don't really like to write scientific papers, but I just ask my question. Yeah. I ask the question, how can I make this fun in some way? And so I created, then just instead of plainly writing a thesis, created workshops in which I interactively with people started to teach them something. And that was a lot more fun than just writing a paper.
Yeah.
So there are options that just by asking the question, how can I make it fun? It might open up a new perspective.
Yeah. Just getting curious about where you are now, and how you feel about this goal. And we understand that this is a lot of information. We are constantly talking and bombarding you with things. But the most important thing for you to take out from here is assess where you are now and what's your attitude towards your goal. And if you feel like your goal is scary, or is something that is hard to achieve, or you're not completely certain that you can make it, well, then it's time to change it. And either you change your goal or you change your attitude towards it. So that's the most important part. Here what we wanted to give you as a tip is to just write, like when you ask this question, where are you now, just free write, like start writing, write whatever comes to your mind. And if you start seeing that this is just a very entangled process, it's like, oh, okay, I don't know, what will my mom think, and what will my aunt think, and I'm a failure to society, and like all this, it's like, oh my God, no, let's stop that at some point. You can let it out, but then you stop it and you say, okay, how can I deal with this differently? How can I take a different attitude towards it? And if you don't feel like writing, you can do it in a recording. You can just record yourself and start talking to yourself. And now you're not crazy. Everybody does that.
Just put your headphones on, and everybody thinks you're calling somebody. Or
like, oh yeah, I'm in a business call, So I'm just figuring out my life. So those are the two tools that are the most helpful in this case. Just explore your mind, and you are a journalist, and you need to find the scoop that's lying inside you. Yeah, okay. Great.
So, like, really, in this where you are right now question, it's more about the curiosity, really trying to figure out how you feel, trying to just really experience, okay, what is there? How do I feel about this question, this topic, my goal, rather than having really some certainty. Oh, I need to figure this out now. Why is that the case? Why can't I achieve this goal, or haven't I done it before? But really, okay, just how are you feeling right now, and being curious about what your mind comes up with. That's maybe a nicer way to put it, to just like see, okay, what is my mind throwing at me that I need to do or should do, or and they're just being open and curious what happens.
Great. And then we come to the last question. And this is a really important one, is how can you get to your goal. How can you achieve this, either goal or solving this problem or attaining the skill or whatever. This is about the process that you'll do to get there. In the case of Julian, is running once a week initially. If he feels like it, maybe running 2 times a week. And in your case, it can be taking one step towards your desired goal, your desired state, whatever is it doing. So we'll prompt you to ask this question, and is what do you need, or what needs to happen in order for you to get closer to your goal? And remember that the goal can be anything. So it's more about the how to get there, the process of getting there. And it can be something that you need to do. It can be something that you need to acquire. It can be something that you need to wait for it to happen. Like, for example, we need to wait for the quarantine to end so we can do workshops in person, for example. That would be one thing. But try to mostly focus on yourself and what you can do.
Yes. So really a thing that I guess I repeat too often maybe is, as you said, the process is very important. And what I mean is really taking the simplest approach of all, really just try to give you some baby steps that make it just a tiny bit more likely. That's what you're heading for. You're not going for, I want to make this happen until the end of the month and need all those things suddenly. And you've all, I don't know, I need responsibilities. I need to reach out this person. I need $10,000. I need to clean my garden, whatever.
Sure.
But the point is just start really with one single small thing that you can relatively easily do, and then go on to the next one.
Yeah.
So really keep that in mind, that it should not feel super, super difficult, because again, then you try to go away from that. And if there's only one thing that you can do, try to make it fun.
Yeah, we have some activity in the chat. What if the goal no longer excites me anymore? And this goes back to what we were saying in the beginning. If a goal doesn't excite you, you won't be motivated to pursue it. You won't be motivated to create a process to achieve it. So there needs to be something within you that is sparked, that is excited to get into that direction. And if the current phrasing of your goals or the underlying motives of that goal are not aligned with who you want to be, or the person that you really are, then this goal won't seem appealing. So what we would suggest is that you try to think, okay, what does excite me? What is something that I want to pursue? And just ignore the other goals for a while and create this new goals that is the desired life goals. And it can be completely different, or it can be similar, but phrased in a different way that you feel better about it. Also, yeah.
Oh, yeah. So what is you said, okay, you can create new goals, you can create something else, but maybe it's also really interesting to figure out, okay, why doesn't it excite me anymore? Mm-hmm. So what's the thing that, what part of the goal is not exciting me anymore? What gives me a bad feeling, or what gives me a feeling that I want to repel from it? Mm-hmm. And so really, again, try to figure out, okay, what is my attitude towards it? And then see, maybe you can tweak or adjust it a bit to make it, maybe the process more fun, if you have to achieve the goal. Yeah. So maybe that's the thing, when you cannot change the goal, then see, okay, what part of the process you can make a bit more fun.
Yep. Good. So then we have the 3 questions covered. So the where do you want to go is setting up the goal. Where are you now is checking in with your attitude and seeing if the attitude is right. And how can you get there is okay, what do you need to do or get, or for it to happen, so you can get closer to your goal? And this is sort of a milestone kind of process. You can set up like smaller goals within the bigger goal, or you can set small steps that will get you closer to the desired end goal. And any step, no matter how tiny, if it's in the right direction, it's progress. So it's all about not overwhelming ourselves and not getting like too much pressure from the big goal and like achieving that dream, but just like, okay, what can I do now? What can I do today? What is the next right step? And taking it slowly so you don't get overwhelmed.
Yeah, it's really that you also cheer the achievements of yourself that you actually made, because there quite some parts where you're like, oh, but I could have achieved more, or another person has done more during that time, or all those like other circumstances that other people were achieving more or have done better, or that you thought of yourself, but I should have done more for some reason. That doesn't matter. As long as you are progressing, you are already a lot further than you were before.
Yeah.
Just like this movement, because it really is starting a movement, that you get into the habit of creating this process and going step and step and step further towards that goal. And that's like the most important part, that you get into this movement.
Yeah. Good. So this is the main part of the content. We will just do a quick recap so you can get notes in if you didn't already. And
actually, I want to add one more thing.
Yes, please.
It might be sometimes very difficult to get this or to keep this movement going. And there, it is incredibly helpful if you have just another person just cheering you on if you present them with an idea, or if you just starting out with an idea or with a problem you want to change, and just present that perspective or just present that idea from a person you know they're going to cheer you on, you know that you're going to get some positive feedback on, because those supportive people can have just such a major impact on your energy when you try to achieve something. That is just incredible. So maybe try to find those people around you, find this tribe to get some support from others.
Great tip. So yeah, quick recap. Let's see. So if you want to be your own coach, then first you need to be well disposed. Like you need to have a predisposition to be positive, to be kind to yourself, to be patient, and to ask a lot of questions and get curious. Not like I always say, like, leave certainties aside, become more curious. So the things that you thought you knew about yourself, or like I am like this and this is like this, you can leave that aside. You can just like start asking questions instead of saying like who you are. And then you might discover new things. You might discover that you are more than that.
Just as if you meet a new person, you're just like curious about what talents they have, about what ideas they have, about what just goals they have in life. And with a similar curiosity of getting to know the other foreign person, you try to do that with yourself.
Yes. Good. And then when you got in the right mindset of, okay, I'll be patient, I'll be curious, you can relax. You can center yourself, do some meditation, some breathing, listening to music, drinking some tea and really concentrating on the tea. Whatever it is that gets you relaxed and in the mood for an open, honest conversation with yourself, you can do that.
And it's usually not a screen.
Yeah, that's a spoiler alert.
Yeah, so anything with social media or friends texting or whatever, so generally like laptop, phone aside, that already that takes off a whole workload from your brain.
Yeah. And once you manage to sit down and be with the right mindset and be centered, then you can ask yourself these three main questions. Where do you want to go? Where are you now? And how can you get to where you want to go? And
maybe what do you need to?
Or what do you need to do?
Yeah.
Or what needs to happen? But those are the three main parts that any self-coaching process should have. Try not to get too stuck on one and forget the others. Like, try to give attention to all of them, because this is a solid round process. Like, you start on where you want to go, where are you now, and how can you get to where you want to go. And this is like almost like a natural process that will develop as you practice a little bit. And in psychology, sessions last 50 minutes to an hour, and there's a reason for that. It's because it's a lot of mental effort and a lot of emotional, like an emotional roller coaster can be even. So try to keep it at a reasonable time. It can be like an hour and a half or something like that, but try not to do that for 3-4 hours, because you won't be thinking straight and it won't be a helpful coaching process.
Rather go through it again in like a week or in 2 weeks again, and then see, okay, where I'm at right now. Did something change? Did my goal change? Maybe rather that than sitting there for 5 hours.
Yeah, and if you feel like you're stuck, then you just leave that and you go back to it like the next day or in a few hours. But just don't, again, just like as everything we said, it doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be painful to do. It's always better to do it with joy, when it sparks joy. It's always better to do it when you're motivated. So yeah, if you feel like you lost the motivation or you lost your way, then you can just stop and continue later. And you can do this process as many times as you need, with as many goals as you need. That's as you need, and you can start with time to do that. That's all the deal, and we hope that it was sort of illustrative of what it is, a self-coaching process. But if you have questions, or if anything was not clear, if you want us to go deeper or explain a specific scenario, you can write it in the chat. Now we have about 1 minute. No. That's completely different. Great. Okay. But yeah, we will start talking about what's coming next. But if you have questions, yes, please write them down. And if not, you can say, okay, bye, thank you. I'm going to go ahead.
After we finish with explaining what's coming next.
Okay. Yeah, because we're super excited about it. So next Sunday, we will start what we called the self-esteem series. And this is 5 Sundays where we will talk about self-esteem in general. We will go from the most basic concepts. Okay, what is self-esteem? And we will do exercises to explore it and go deeper and start getting to know ourselves and see, okay, why do I have a lack here? Why do I feel like this in this area? And then just like continue going forward until we cover a bunch of exercises to address your esteem, to get confidence in different things, and basically to make it clear for you what is self-esteem, what is confidence, why do it, and how to get it. So it's all that. And anything to add?
No, the five Sundays in whole May. So in May are 5 Sundays, and in all of them we're going to do a webinar targeted to those self-esteems.
Self-esteems, multiple self-esteems.
Well, you see there can be differentiated between a couple of other things.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we obviously would love to see you there. And if you have any, maybe beforehand already, some questions that you want us to incorporate in there, or just your opinions about it already, you can send us a message, or maybe even write it in the comments right now, so that we can like tailor that a bit to you guys, and we can figure out, okay, what is actually really, really needed by the people right now.
Yep. So we make it personalized.
Yes.
A personalized experience.
We try to.
Yeah. Okay. And yeah, the whole topic was actually suggested by a friend.
Yeah.
So yeah, we started with that, and then it's like, oh, okay, let's dive deeper. There's so much to cover here, and it's so needed. So
because we all
we all
go
went
through that still.
Yeah.
That's a recurring thing, and I guess we all feel like it could be beneficial, and so that's why we want to dive deeper for ourselves, but also obviously for explaining that to others, and what are the different facets of it, and how can we make other people's lives a bit better by explaining that.
Exactly. So from what I see, there are no questions, and everybody's saying thanks. So thank you guys for joining, for the great questions and the participation. And have a great Sunday. Looking forward to starting this new series together.
Thank you for joining.
A cartoon.
Yes, I wanted to do this always in a live video. So
okay, let's do it.
Okay, guys, if you don't have anything to add, we really thank you for participation, all the comments, and yes, thank you. And I wish you a really nice Sunday, or even night in the Philippines.
Yeah.
Have a good one, you too. Thank you for joining.
Bye.
Yes.